Hello everyone, it's your homeboy, your guy, the man with the plan, the kid next door, and so much more, Zukashi King. And today I am doing another episode of my web series, my web autobiography series known as The Boy with a Mind of His Own. For full disclosure, if you want me to, so I'm using the mic today this time, and I actually ordered this mic off of Amazon. So quick update, if I'll be using the mic more often. If you could hear me fine without the mic and you would rather I did this without the mic, please let me know in the comments below, or you can just email me. Other stuff, updates about my channel is I am actually starting on a web page for my channel /web/blog page. So for my channel, that will be coming out soon. Once I'm completed it, I am going to send a link in the description in one of my videos, in my later videos. Also, I have a streaming channel for those of you who like cartoons and stuff. I got a streaming channel now I'm creating that is online. I will send details in the next in the description of the next video, of a later video, once I get it all set up. So that will be coming soon. Also, I will be doing Spotify on one of these days. I actually got my Spotify set up, so sooner or later I have Spotify coming up, and that also will have a link in the description below. Also, I hope you guys are having a very great Sunday so far. This video may have come out later than Sunday. This video was filmed on Sunday, so if it's not Sunday not Sunday in the area I'm in by the time this video comes out, it's because I got a late start on this video. So either way, I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so last week we talked about myself, of how I was born and how I was adopted at a month old, and how I grew up, and how my life played out, and how I got into my older years. And I believe we stopped at age 12. I was going to start today at age 13, but I think we're going to go back to 12 because there are some highlights that I'd like to point out from 12 years old that apply for what's going on now. And I think we may stop right at the top, right at age 15 tonight. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. So, like I said, last week we stopped at age 12. And I was going to start today at age 13, but I decided we'd go to 12, back to 12 again, because there were some key highlights. So at age 12, this was a very big moment in my life, because it was the year I had contemplated and thought very long and hard about giving my life to Christ. And like I said, I might have said it in the last video, I did not give my life to Christ. I might have said this in the last video, but I'm going to say it again if I did not say it before. I was baptized at age 13. I gave my life to Christ at age 12, I believe. So yeah, because I believe it was a year after I had turned 12 that I gave my life that I was baptized. Okay, so main thing in my 12 years old, this was a key highlight and a big turner in my life, especially when it came to my spiritual relationship with God. I had a dream, and in this dream, I was in my parents' house, and it was kind of dark. It was dark outside. It was a nighttime. And in the dream, my mom had told me to go to the attic to get something. So I went up to the attic. I heard a voice in the side of the attic. It was dark, and it was kind of hard to see in this dream. So when I was in the attic, I heard a voice, a very sly, sneaky voice. And it told me to do something other than what my mom had asked me to. And so, without question, and with little temptation, I did this action. And I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I remember it was something that I was tempted to do. So when I did it, I felt attacked by this creature. And it turns out it was probably, it looks like a man, but it was hooded and dark, and it attacked me from behind and stuck its claws in my chest. I remember in the dream I came down from the attic, and I felt this sharp pain in my chest. And in the dream, my mom took out a claw from my chest, and we both confirmed that it was the devil. I woke up from that dream, and I prayed. I stayed up a little after that dream, because I was taught by my sister to pray and to stay up when I had a bad dream. And like I've told you, I've already had dealings with demons before in my early life at 8 years old. So this was something not new to me. But unlike those visions, this was more like not as scary. So I went back to sleep, and when I went back to sleep, I had the same dream. My mom told me to go in the attic and get something. And I remember asking her in the dream, what if the devil comes after me again? My mom in the dream said, ask God for guidance. So I went up to the attic in the dream. In the dream again, I went up to the attic, and it was very dark to the point where I could not see anything. And then I heard a voice that sounded very familiar and very calming. Turns out the voice sounded like my brother-in-law's voice. And the voice was telling me to do this. And I was like, how do I know I can trust you? And the voice said, it's me, your brother-in-law. You can trust me. In the dream, I asked God to open my eyes and let me see. And when my eyes were open, the devil tried to attack me again. But this time, he tried to drag me down a large pit that opened up in the attic. That opened up in the floor of the attic. I was holding on to dear life, holding on to objects, and he was trying to pull me in. I looked him straight in the eye, and I said, you won't use me anymore. And the monster went down into the pit himself. That, ladies and gentlemen, was one of the very few dreams in my life that I've been able to describe so far and so vividly. And I remember that by understanding this dream, I remember that was my first step into serving Christ. So yeah, that was basically one of the most pinnacle points of my life at 12 years old. And it's still one of the most pinnacle points in my life at all. Another pinnacle point in my life, and this has to do a lot with why I am doing my channels and all that, and all devoted to these videos, is that I actually at 12 years old, this is one of the crazy things, a lot of my favorite TV shows were coming off the air. A lot of TV shows I grew up were leaving the channel, and the channel I usually watched TV on was PBS Kids, and a lot of the shows were disappearing at that point. And a lot of them I liked coming home from school and watching them. So my idea at that time, and at this time I was coming up with a lot of ideas. So my idea at that time was to one day start my own TV channel, and to actually put the shows that would air on the channel, on the TV for me when I was a kid, on this channel. And actually, I have the name of the show was the name that I'm actually still pursuing for when I start my own TV channel someday. And the name is Zumayunga. I don't know how I originally got that idea. I think it had to do with one of the TV shows that I was loved so much called Zoom, and I just kind of added something else to it to make it sound a lot cooler and a lot more crazier. My goal was to come up with something like Nickelodeon's Cartoon Network and Disney Channel all mashed into one. And this was the name that I got, and I loved it, and I stuck with it. I was day in and day out write down TV shows that I would put on this channel, on this TV station, original content that I would put in this TV station, and it became the start of how Zukashi King became what he is today. It was the idea, the motive, and the creativity that found its way to me through all the shows that I grew up on. And I actually gotta admit, it's what defines me today. I just am a guy. Being the boy with a mind of his own means that I'm full of crazy ideas. I'm full of explosion and hyped motives and ideas and creativity. And the fact that that's part of me makes me what I am, makes me Zukashi King, makes me the boy with a mind of his own. And that's really what this whole life about me is about. How I can use my gifts and my so-called disabilities to progress in life, to help people see the color and the creativity in the world. Now, a lot of the world is in shambles. A lot of people see nothing but darkness and hopelessness and chaos. But I still believe there's a part of the world that, if you shine a little light on it, you can find the creativity, the color, the wonder in it. And that's what I hope to do. So yeah. Also, when I was 12, I covered this last week, that at 12 years old, I was taken out of martial arts class. I was taken out of Taekwondo, and it was because the teachers would say I wasn't learning as fast as the other students, and I was in an adult class because it wasn't so much I was an adult. I was I had more training in the adult class because the teachers were able to focus on me individually in that class. But the thing was that they took me out because they asked my parents to take me out of Taekwondo because I wasn't progressing as far as everybody else. I wasn't coordinated in that time. And part of me still wants to go back to martial arts. I mean, heck, I every time I watch a martial arts movie, I have this lock in into seeing how they do stuff. And quite frankly, a lot of moves that I've seen in martial arts movies and I've seen people do in martial arts, I copy it. I can mimic it almost perfectly. I won't say almost perfectly, but almost good enough to actually use it. And it's because I have such a love for martial arts that anytime I see something like that, I have to it locks up in my memory. I wouldn't say I have photographic memory because I don't think I do, but if any case, this would be kind of like photographic memory, I guess. So yeah, a lot of that took place in my 12th year. A lot of highlighted stuff that helped me in life happened when I was 12. I'm going to go a little back before 12 years old, 2 years before I turned 12. At 10 years old, I actually did want to start my own comic series too. And when I turned 12 and I remembered, when I turned 12 and I came up with the idea for Zumiyounga, I actually considered the comic characters I made. And some of these comic characters are gonna be made someday, because not only am I going to also progress in my streaming and my TV channels and media, I also want to create a comic line, a comic business called Herculean Comics. Had been so inspired by many media concepts such as Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, PBS Kids, Disney Channel, DC Comics, and Marvel Comics that I want to start my own brand. That I want to be kind of the next Stan Lee / Disney, the next Stan Lee / Walt Disney / Ted Turner. I want to bring color to this world. So yeah, I really want to. I really want to show people that there is such wonder in the world that we're missing, and that we can still find it if we choose to. Okay. So, moving on to age 13. 13 was the beginning of my life where I started struggling in my behavior. I became more and more aggressive, and I know I said I got baptized at 13. I did. But somehow I felt like that when I got baptized, that all my problems would go away. That all my struggles would disappear. So I kind of expected things to happen my way. But it turns out that it made it harder for me to accept that I had to follow rules. And it made it hard. So progressing on to age 14. 14 was pretty much the same. My behavior got worse and worse and worse. And by the age 15, I was finally, my aggression was still going and going and going and going. And it was at that point where I was starting to get more and more aggressive. And so, with the fact that all these kids in my family were coming to my mom, my mom like I said, my mom had to homeschool us. So, the fact that my behavior was getting worse, and the fact that some of my siblings' behaviors were getting out of hand, my mom couldn't take it anymore. So she put majority of us in public school. I pretended I wanted to be homeschooled, but deep down inside, I was excited to go to middle school. I was going to be able to make friends, and I was going to be able to learn at my own, probably more interactive pace. And turns out that it did. I did. There were subjects that I struggled with, mainly math, but every other subject I was pretty much kind of influent in. I started out in a special needs class, but as I progressed, the teachers decided they would put me in different classes with co-ed students. So at that time, I was 15 and I was making friends. And I also found people that I liked. I found at this time, there was one girl in my life in that time that I found attractive, and I liked her a lot, maybe too much. And I had friends, and I made mistakes with friends. Like, one friend was very good to me, but because of his religious background, I kind of blew him off in the end. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. Don't ever do that. Don't make the mistake I did. Because that guy was nothing but nice to me. And I blew him off just because of his religion. And I feel so stupid for doing that. If there was ever a chance that I could see him again, I would tell him. I would look him in the eye and said, I am so sorry that I judged you because of what I felt. And because of my bigotry. You were a great friend, and probably the only friend that the only friend I ever had that really treated me like a person. Because growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends. But this guy made me realize that there was more to me. Heck, he was the guy that helped me talk to the girl that I liked. And I feel there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel guilty for what I did. And I hope this guy, if he's out there, if he's still living, I hope that he surpasses me in success, because he was a great guy. He was a great friend. Okay, moving on. Sorry. Moving on. So, towards the end of my 15th year, by August of my 15th year, things went downhill. I was in middle school, yes. My behavior at home, though, was atrocious. And I progressed in school and in academics, but I degressed in my behavior at home with my parents. I felt like, oh, mom, dad, I can do whatever I want. I'm old enough to know what I want now. And at that age, I was like feeling like I was on top of the world. Like I knew everything. My parents were digressing. But my aggression got a hold of me to the point where one day after Thanksgiving, the cops were called on me for the first time. I was erratically violent that day, and my mother and I were having an argument. And at that time, I felt I made a move that was very threatening towards her. So it was then that the cops were called because I broke property in my parents' house. I broke my window. And it was then that the cops were called. And that was my first offense. So in time, I had to take anger management classes. I had to get a probation officer. And it didn't really do anything. I would go to my classes. I'd go to my sessions. But in the end, it never did anything. I came back home twice as worse. Age 15 was also the time when I contemplated on committing suicide. And I went to a place called Riverwoods, where people with suicidal behavior were treated. I stayed there for 10 days. Came back home. My behavior got worse and worse. It was then, at that end of that year, that by the time I turned 16, my life changed upside down. My life went 0 to 100 in the worst way. I literally went through a 360-degree turn in my life. And that is something we're actually going to talk about next week on this podcast, on this web video chat. I just want you guys to know before I sign off that just because you feel like you're on top of the world does not mean things will go your way. Sometimes things will go horribly, horribly wrong if you believe you're on top of the world and that everything's going to go your way. And another thing I want to leave you guys off with is try to find the wonder and hope in this world before you condemn it to negativity and chaos. There are still little spots of sunshine. There are still people with stars in them waiting to glow. You could be one of them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys took some notes, if you would call them that, about some pointers, some key pointers about how to live life. As always, I'm not just some kid on the block. I'm a boy with a minor zone. I'm your homeboy, your guy, the man with a plan, the kid next door, and so much more, Zukashi King. And I hope you guys have a great day. Remember, be safe, be kind, be swell. Peace.